It's called the Manufacturing Event for Africans by Africans. Our Rofhiwa Madzena is out at the Sandton Convention Centre this morning for the Manufacturing Indaba. Very good morning to you, Rofhiwa. Tell us a bit more about the Indaba and what is to be expected over the next couple of days.
A very good morning to you, Tammy, and it is the event of all events in the manufacturing industry, the Manufacturing Indaba, over the next couple of days. And it's the who's who in the industry that'll be attending and engaging on the different issues, challenges and opportunities that present themselves in the manufacturing industry. So we do know from economic data, production, manufacturing data out recently that the industry has struggled because of load shedding, amongst other things, including the higher cost of doing business. But we're going to be speaking to the MD, Liz Hart, a little bit later on this morning, Tammy, who will be giving us a sense of who exactly is going to be here, the top manufacturers like your Toyotas and so, but also just what the event aims to achieve. In the meantime, another important story that's happening is the market inquiry that has been initiated by the Competition Commission, that being announced by the Competition Commission last week. And just to give us a sense of the legalities around this particular issue and how important it actually is to news readers like you and me who engage on social media platforms for our latest news and information. We've got Chris Charter from Cliffe Dekker and Hofmeyr joining us this morning. A very good morning to you, Chris, and thank you for taking the time to join us. Tell us a little bit about this market inquiry and how important it actually is when it comes to the Competition Commission actually looking into the different digital platforms that consumers consume news and other media.
Good morning, and good morning to everybody listening in. Absolutely, the Competition Commission has been preoccupied for a couple of years now on with digital markets in particular, and that stands to reason given the huge shift onto an online life that so many of us face, particularly since the pandemic. And having recently wrapped up a market inquiry into intermediation platforms, in other words, those platforms used as marketplaces to buy and sell products and services, the Commission has now turned its attention to the impact of digital platforms on the distribution of media content, and particularly news. And so the next level of concern, which came up in the previous market inquiry, was the extent to which the rise of really big platforms and news feeds that most consumers now consume news through, the effect that might be having on publishers and those who produce the news content, and whether indeed they're getting a fair shake in terms of access to consumers and also in terms of a fair share of advertising revenue. That in the main is what the Commission is concerned with.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about why it was fast-tracked. I suppose one of the reasons here would be that the platforms on which we consume media, as you indicate, are increasing by the day. And so it's going to be quite important for the Competition Commission to make sure that this inquiry is completed quite efficiently.
Yes, the timeline is pretty aggressive. First of all, that's partly statutory. The Commission really has only 18 months in the ordinary course to conclude a market inquiry. And market inquiries, of necessity, they investigate the entire value chain, need to gather a lot of information. So it is perhaps fairly ambitious in terms of a timeline. They're also asking for a lot of information to be given and collated and requested over the festive period coming up, and I think that might be a little bit of a challenge. But there really is some pressure to look into these markets relatively fast. Of course, digital markets move extremely quickly, and the Commission probably feels it doesn't have the luxury of taking years to investigate a market which will outmaneuver it if they don't act pretty fast. And then secondly, there is a lot of pressure from various jurisdictions around the world. I think it's become clear that in order to regulate sort of really big global platforms like Google and Meta and Twitter or X or whatever it's called now, that you need to have a sort of a combined effort from regulators around the world. And so there is some pressure, I think, to coordinate efforts on regulation with other regulators. So that also probably impacts the Commission's eagerness to get going here.
Speaking of jurisdictions and international stakeholders, Chris, give us a sense of some international standard practice or learnings that perhaps the Competition Commission will look towards or learn from in their own inquiry, and I suppose the subsequent actions after whatever findings come out of it.
So this is something that regulators all over the world are wrestling with, and it's a fairly new frontier for everybody. So it's not as if there is a huge amount of historical precedent to go on. But some sort of first mover activity has come from Europe, in particular Germany and France, and the European Union has moved pretty fast to try and address some of its copyright laws to ensure that producers of content have an opportunity to generate revenue from the content that is used by platforms to drive engagement. And then we've seen some action out of Australia and out of Canada and various jurisdictions, India, Singapore, are all looking at regulating digital platforms in general, and in particular to make sure that local consumers' access to local news is not distorted as a result of the impact of the sort of shift online to global aggregator platforms.
Thank you very much, Chris, for your time this morning.